What happens when Ford stops playing by the rules? You don't just get muscle cars, you get machines that start riots. Ford's history is littered with moments where engineers said, "Screw it," grabbed a wrench, and built something so outrageous, it had to be real. These are the 10 times Ford didn't just bend the rules, they torched the playbook and made history. 1. 1966 Ford GT40. After Enzo Ferrari humiliated Henry Ford II by backing out of a deal, Ford didn't get even. He got faster. He ordered his engineers to crush Ferrari at Le Mans, no matter the cost. What they built was the GT40, a 7.0-liter V8 mid-engine monster with one purpose: annihilate Maranello. In 1966, the GT40 Mark II didn't just win, it swept the podium. 1, 2, 3. Ferrari was humiliated. Ford was immortalized. 210 miles per hour, brutal power. The GT40 was less a car, more a rocket strapped to vengeance. 2. 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429. Homologation rules said Ford needed to sell its massive new 429 cubic inch V8 in a street car. Ford said, "Fine, let's wedge it into a Mustang." What came out was the 1969 Boss 429, a brawler dressed like a muscle coupe. 375 horsepower was the official number. But this beast made closer to 500. Raw, unfiltered thunder bolted into the front of a hand-built car. It was barely street legal. Too wide, too loud, too aggressive for suburbia, and that's why it mattered. The Boss 429 wasn't about comfort. It was about confrontation. 3. 1965 Shelby GT 350R. Most Mustangs were meant for cruising. The 1965 GT 350R, that was Carroll Shelby going feral. He stripped the interior, threw out rear seats, cranked up the 289 V8, and what was left was a weaponized Mustang that didn't just win, it humiliated Corvettes on the track. This was the first Mustang to dominate SCCA racing. It didn't even try to look civilized. Side pipes, racing stripes, and the scream of a track-bred soul. Shelby didn't ask Ford's permission. He asked what was possible, and then he went past it. 4. 1985 Ford Mustang SVO. The 80s were strange. Muscle cars were dying. But Ford's Special Vehicle Operations team wasn't done fighting. Their answer? The 1985 Mustang SVO, a 2.3-liter turbo four-cylinder with 205 horsepower, a manual gearbox, and suspension tuned for curves, not stoplights. No chrome, no badge flexing, just raw driver connection. It wasn't about brawn, it was about brains. And for once, Detroit delivered a car that challenged Porsches instead of Camaros. The Mustang SVO was ahead of its time, and like most rebels, it died misunderstood. But it left a mark that still echoes in every performance Mustang today. 5. 1986 Ford RS 200. Group B was motorsport's Wild West, and the 1986 Ford RS 200, its most feral outlaw, mid-engine, all-wheel drive, turbocharged fury packed into a compact fiberglass shell. It made 450-plus horsepower in race trim and could hit 60 in just under 3 seconds. It wasn't built for roads. It was built to tear them apart. Only 200 were made. The RS 200 wasn't just illegal. It was barely survivable. Group B was banned after too many deaths, and this monster vanished almost as fast as it appeared. But in that brief, glorious window, the RS 200 proved that Ford could build insanity with a VIN number. 6. 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. How do you take down Chrysler at the drag strip? If you're Ford, you build a missile called the Thunderbolt. In 1964, Ford took the mid-size Fairlane, gutted it, then shoved in a 427 high-riser FIV8, making over 600 horsepower. Fiberglass body panels, plexiglass windows, no back seat, no insulation. It weighed just over 3,000 pounds and ran the quarter mile in the low 11s, in factory form. Only 100 were made, all built for NHRA Superstock. This wasn't a car, it was a launch code. 7. 1925 Ford Model T Hot Rods. The Model T was never supposed to be fast, but after World War II, returning GIs had different ideas. They took Grandpa's old T, stripped it to the bones, dropped in flathead V8s, chopped the tops, and created a movement, the hot rod. This wasn't Ford doing the rule-breaking, it was the people. But the platform, pure Ford. Affordable, simple, and begging to be rebuilt into something more. Without the Model T, there is no car culture, no lowriders, no rat finks, no burnout competitions. This was the spark that lit the fuse. 8. 1964. Ford Fairlane 500. It looked like your dad's daily driver, but under the hood was a NASCAR grade 427 big block, the same engine used in GT40s and Galaxies. Ford didn't advertise it. They didn't have to. Only about 50 were made. And those who had one knew exactly what it was, a Q-ship, fast, quiet, and devastatingly fast from a stoplight. This was Ford at its most sinister, building monsters that didn't even wear a costume. 9. 1969, Ford Mustang Mach 1. The Mach 1 wasn't just more power, it was more everything. Ford took the Mustang's looks, performance, and poise and turned the volume way up. You could spec it with a 428 Cobra jet, functional hood scoops, spoilers, racing stripes. It was a muscle car wrapped in a fighter jet silhouette. But it wasn't just flash. It handled, it responded, and it looked like the car a fighter pilot would drive on the way to his court-martial. The Mach 1 was elegance and aggression blended with rare precision. 10. 1969 Mercury Cyclone Spoiler 2. Built during NASCAR's Aero Wars, the Cyclone Spoiler 2 was Ford's secret bullet. Under the Mercury badge, it flew under the radar. But that sleek nose, flush grille, and elongated body weren't just for show. They were engineered to slip through Daytona's air like a knife through silk. Powered by a big block 429, it was born for 200 miles per hour ovals. Just 351 were built to satisfy homologation. And while Dodge had the winged Daytona, Ford had the sharpened blade. It didn't scream. It sliced. What ties these machines together isn't just the badge. It's the spirit. Ford, at its most dangerous, has always been about defiance. When the rules said stop, Ford said go. When the limits said no, Ford said try me. These weren't cars. They were declarations, built not just to win, but to be remembered. So next time you hear a V8 growl or see a Mustang glinting in the sun, remember, Ford didn't just build cars. It built legends by breaking the rules first. Hit that subscribe, punch the like, and never forget, history loves the rebel.